This is a interesting podcast. We're gonna get started now. I have a good friend of mine. He's always behind the scenes. He doesn't like to be behind. He doesn't like to be in front of the camera, right? But you're like a puppet master. You're like a Manny Jr.
Okay,
right?
I'll take that.
That's
a great compliment. That's a great compliment.
My boy JC, and we have a special guest. You want to introduce your special guest that you brought in from Benthall?
Yeah.
Benthall?
Al Benthall.
Al Benthall?
Yeah, from all the way from North Carolina.
Right.
And I met Al a few months ago. We've been working together. Al has really redefined test prep when it comes to SAT and ACT. He's doing a great job. And having been in the educational sector for so many years, I know when I see something of quality. So I just felt he's making a move into Miami, South Florida market. And I figured we had to get on your podcast to spread the word.
I love it. Before we move on to Al, tell people for people who may not know you, a little about your history.
A little bit about my history.
This is your camera here.
That's my camera, so I got to look at the camera.
Yeah. Who is JC Silva?
Educator my whole life, 23 years in Dade County Public Schools. Got into it because I always liked working with kids, working with families. Out of those 23 years, half of it as a school administrator, assistant principal, middle school, high school, elementary. I did all the levels and opened a lot of doors. Got to work with a lot of interesting people, both in and outside the school district. Left, got a little tired of the politics. I didn't feel I was in it for the right reason. The heart wasn't there anymore.
After how many years?
23 years.
23 years. I love
Dade County, yeah. And I loved it. I still miss those days of working with the students and working with the teachers. And I shifted, did consulting with a very, very good friend of mine. I continued to do that in the educational space, and then I did a 180 and got into social media, which at the time in education when I left, it wasn't. We sort of avoided it. We didn't want to be caught on social media. It was never a good thing.
Boy, has that changed.
That has changed, and but I did a 180 and I started managing some influencers and just finding ways to connect dots with relationships I had made. And that's what I've been doing for the last few years. And I currently also work at FIU.
Yep.
That is my main job right now.
But you just glossed over your social media like if it was nothing, You did a lot in that realm.
I did, but it's not about me. It's it's about just making things happen, and that's what we're trying to do.
Excellent. Al, for those people who don't know you, I love North Carolina, by the way. My sister lives up there.
God's country.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful state. Explain to them a little bit about your history.
Now, it's this middle camera?
Yep.
Okay. My history. So I did my PhD at UNC Chapel Hill in English literature. And while I was doing my doctorate, I was also doing science classes and logic classes and math classes. So I was kind of all over the place with English and math. So I got out, became an English professor up in Michigan for a few years, went down to Washington, D.C., taught at a university there. Started working with this little SAT company just on the weekends, helping kids out. But they were a cool company, and they only hired PhDs to do their tutoring, so they were pretty first class. And I was mentored by the founder of that company, and at that time, he had taken the SAT 45 times. So
wow, I didn't think that was even possible.
Get your mind around that, right? Yeah, a lot of Jedi mind tricks, taking the test that many times in real person. So after that experience in D.C., I came down to North Carolina to teach at Belmont Abbey College, and I started as a professor there. That's when I started my own company. Okay, so I started this little SAT prep company, ACT prep, helping kids out, and it just started doubling every year. We would get twice as many students, and so I've now tutored probably over 5,000 students and helping them get those SAT scores up, get full rides to big universities, that kind of thing.
What is the biggest issue that usually kids come to you with? Where are they lacking? Is it math, literature, etc.?
Believe it or not, the math skills are pretty solid these days.
Oh, wow.
I mean, they're being taught math in school, but I have students come to me and they don't read. They don't read books. Nobody reads. So their reading skills are behind, and the grammar is even worse.
Yeah, I'm one of those. Honestly, I don't even know why we need grammar, man. I just type all the way through, man.
Right. And now it's getting worse because they got ChatGPT, right? And so, but they come to me and say, hey, find the verb in that sentence. They go, what's a verb?
Yeah.
So they're hitting a brick wall, with the SATs. And so they come to the right place.
But do you think, I'm just being curious here, someone who went to high school, I took the SAT, don't even remember what my score was. But
Was that good?
it wasn't anything to be proud of. I just kind of went and did it because I did it one time. I was forced to do it. I didn't think it was hard either. But anyways, is it? I guess the question that kids ask all the time is like, is it necessary? You know, I know it's necessary to get into some classes and stuff like that, but is it like a real rubric of like intelligence, or how would you see that, or what is it really testing for? You know,
it's a rubric for a lot of things. It's really testing your ability to problem solve. And that's a skill that's going to stick with you in life, right? It's not just testing your math skills, not just testing reading, not just testing grammar. It's testing, can you think outside the box, right? So a lot of questions, you've got to step back and look at the whole thing and see, oh, they laid this trap here, or they're asking me this instead. So that's a good skill.
That's a very good skill. That's
right.
what you do here every day.
Right.
That's a very good. Would you be able to create like your own test? Like, are you?
Oh, yeah.
You can create your own like.
Oh, yeah. I make up questions all the time, you know, to sort of play with their minds a little bit. Yeah.
That's interesting. And would you be able to like adapt that to like a business?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean,
because I would like to have a test, like an entry test into the agency, you know?
Right.
Like, I have some people that I'm like, and when you told me problem solving, that's like what I try to pitch you all the time. I always tell people, listen, you need to learn how to critically think outside the box, and just figure things out. You know, it's one of the best skills you can have. What you say is true. It's for life, you know, because you get into a brick wall and then you start panicking, freaking out, and then, you know, that's like, that's a huge piece.
Having been in education so many years, you know, you as a teacher, you as an educator, you're trying to make sure that the topics you want to cover are taught and that students learn that. But to go beyond that is what's difficult. And that's why you see a lot of kids that may have great GPAs and do well in school because of the way they practice, because of the way they do everything, not excel when they take any type of test. And we're not even talking SAT, ACT. You're talking about AP exams, LSATs when you get older, you know, because it's that next step of learning, you know.
And that's a huge piece. The test anxiety, right, for the SAT, it's the perfect storm. If you're a perfectionist, right, you're the brightest kid in class, you can still faceplant on the SAT because of the anxiety you're talking about. And we give them tools for overcoming that anxiety in real time.
Like, what would be an example of a tool like that?
Well, okay, so you watch any basketball player, you watch Michael Jordan on the free throw line, and they're hitting these shots.
You said Michael Jordan, the best of all time, right?
No, I assume you're going into a routine.
Yes, you got that's the magic word, man. And they go into these routines, right? It's 3 spins, 2 dribbles. And I have a lot of athletes in my class. And I say, how many of you guys are basketball players? They all raise their hand. I say, what do you do to stop thinking on the free throw line? They say, I do my routine. And they start comparing routines, right? And I say, that's how you stop thinking. That's how you become aware of yourself, right? The thinking drops away, the voice is in your head, and now you're just aware of the ball. I'm aware of the net. I'm aware of the rim. And they hit the shot. So I give my students routines for using before the SAT, during the SAT. They drop into that space and their anxiety dissolves. And they come back and say, hey, I went up 200 points.
And does everybody have like a specific routine, or is there like some that are consistent that you see, okay, this works, that doesn't work?
Well, we do these grounding and breathing exercises, right? So the basic mindfulness exercises that help them just become aware of the body, the breath, this kind of thing. And then focus. When you focus on the physical, that's what a routine is.
Yeah.
You're putting your awareness on the physical, and the mental drops back and it drops into place. So
Incredible.
Yeah, so we have these routines that we have them do. We train them in that. We do it in real time, and then I sort of encourage them throughout the week. Hey, are you doing your grounding breaths? You know.
And how often do you suggest someone like practice for the test, or kind of give me like an insight into the program that you offer?
Okay, so the big differentiator for us is that not only do we give them strategies, which is huge, like how to spot a trap answer, right? How to look at it differently. That's a big piece. But the piece that we broke through on is what I call recursive learning, okay? A lot of tutors do what I call information-based tutoring. Hey, here's some info on what you did. Well, you know, that's 10%. But you're going to go out and make the same mistake again. You know what I mean? So we have to give them systems so that they can categorize what they're doing wrong, create like categories and a system for going back over and reviewing that stuff before they do the next test. So when they're systematically reviewing what they missed and why they missed it in a real way, in real time, they stop making those mistakes.
So you compartmentalize it into categories of what, like topics?
Yeah, like topics. Like you're missing...
something in algebra or something.
Yeah, triangles. You're missing circles. You're missing
not only
equations.
And, you know, I've looked at what he does, which is very impressive. It's not only the high-level topic, it's the specific type of algebraic question that they're having a problem with. And it's pinpointed to that.
Yeah.
And that's what makes a difference.
Do you pick up like you're hanging out with a student Do you pick up on what type of learner they are? Like a visual learner, an auditory learner.
Yep.
And what do you see? Like, I guess guide me to that. I'm actually curious at how you identify a student and say, okay, this is the plan that's going to work for him. Because I assume all these plans are kind of like catered to some
it has to
ability,
be
you know?
curated for the student, right? So one of the things that we teach is these students read with their eyes. They just like a computer scanning. And I teach them to read with their body, with their voices, and shout it out in your head, right? So they can hear. Because if the other skill, the real life skill, is being a smart reader. You look at a text, you go, those 2 words matter, the rest don't matter. What are the words that are radioactive? And when they pinpoint, I call them money words. These are the money words. Now, where do those money words pop up in the answer? And they go, boom. So if I can make them smart readers, their time goes down, their accuracy goes through the roof. Now,
so it's kind of more like scanning than actually reading?
It's reading with passion. I say read with your feeling brain, answer with your thinking brain. Most students do the opposite. They read with their overthinking, and then they go, this answer feels good. Wrong. They have to feel it when they read it. They find the words that matter. Now I can think about it. Oh, that's what connects to the answer.
That's interesting.
So, but they're using their auditory and visual to answer your question. So some students will say, well, I can't hear the words. I'm visual, right?
Yeah.
And so I have to work with them. Well, then you need to be thinking which words pop when you read. So I have to cater to your visual style. Other students can hear them, but we're constantly adjusting that as we go through the classes.
And is there like a particular type of student that you see more of? Or like, you know, judging by the way people are raised, or is it just like something that's
across the board. Yeah, we have students from every walk. Some students are trying to get into Ivy Leagues, and we've helped some students get into Yale and other places. Like the other students are trying to get into a small local college, and we help those students too. So we can cater it to any student.
To any student.
Yeah.
And it's online, or is it per? You told me it was
We do in person, small groups, right? 10 students or fewer. We also do Zoom classes, same format. And so we can scale it, you know, but it's a very personalized approach.
It feels like that, you know?
Yeah.
And there's also, I mean, now there's also opportunities. He's worked with some schools to implement his process with those schools in small groups where they're using that recursive learning because they've seen the value of it. And that's powerful that some of those schools are picking up on that.
This may sound like a stupid question, but are schools not providing like SAT training and learning and stuff like that? Or is it like still not happening? Because I don't think I got that.
Well, it doesn't really happen during the day. Like this is an SAT prep class or an SAT tutoring class. There are schools that will do it as an after-school program. They provide extra services for the students. I mean, it is available.
It's available.
I don't want you to think that it's,
Gotcha.
You know, I think the county does.
It's not mandated.
No, and I think the county does a very good job of trying to provide as much opportunity as they can for it. I mean, the goal at the end of the day is for them not to teach to the test. But it is something that, you know, they do make it a point to assist the students as much as they can. And some schools will work with the lowest performing students to be able to get them to a level that allows them to get a decent score on those exams. And they're always looking year after year to change that as much as they can.
But when you got a classroom full of 30 kids and just one instructor, there's only so much they can do, you know, and they can't fine tune to the students, you know.
Yeah. Have you ever seen someone with like a perfect score?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. SAT, 1600 and ACT. So yeah, we can get
Both?
it. Yeah.
Does that happen often or
every day? No.
Oh, the same.
No.
Is there like a difference of, you know, like, okay, this person, when I see a student, like this guy just like has it, like, you know, they're far along. You pick up on that quickly, you know.
You can pick up on the ones who've got the fire in the belly, and those are the ones that I can take all the way to the hoop.
And what do you think drives that? You know, what would you say?
It's a lot of culture. It's how they were brought up. You know, It's the environment at home. They've got the support, the parenting, and you can see a passion for learning in these kids, and they often have a goal. They want to go to medical school or something, and you can see this kid's driven. That kid's going places.
Yeah, that's impressive.
And they do the work, you know. And if they don't, they hear from me.
Yeah, and I'm sure you've had cases of people who obviously get into their school and then they come back and they're ecstatic with you. Know?
Oh yeah. I mean, one of our best stories was a kid who got a full ride to Duke. Okay, even though I'm a Tar Heel, Chapel Hill guy, we let that slide. But he walked away with a very, very big scholarship. You know, full ride there. So it's not cheap. But we've had other kids who come from underserved backgrounds, and I was just looking over my stories, and there's one girl who came through ACT, and she also had ADD, right? So she had lots of learning issues. But she was a great kid, and she was really struggling, right? Her score was not moving. And so we decided to move her to my other SAT class. And so I let her do the other class free of charge, because once they're in, I'm in with them. You know what I mean? I'm here to help.
I'm sure you create an emotional and a personal bond with them too. You want them to succeed.
Absolutely. And at that point, it's not about the money. It's about, no, I'm taking you there. I'll give you another free run on this, right? And she took SAT through the roof, and she ended up getting a full scholarship to a major university, and she's now in Italy on a nursing track program. And her mother wrote this letter, like, you changed our lives, you sent our daughter to her dream school, and now she's in Europe studying. So
you're changing like the course of someone's family tree line.
Exactly. Their entire destiny
is
different. They're going to be in a different group of friends.
It's crazy how important that test is. There's a lot of parents out there that may ask or may not wonder. I know there's some parents that are very involved with their kids and they know all these details, where to do it, they know the importance of it. But believe it or not, there's a lot of parents that have no idea that their kids need to even take an SAT or an ACT. Right. For those parents that may not know about the test and also the difference between ACT and SAT, can you kind of shine some light on that for people who may not know that these things are requirements in order to get to certain schools?
Sure. So both these tests are given 7 times a year, and we recommend that the students start in the junior year early on, right? And you want to give it 2 or 3 test dates out through the year. Oftentimes we think of these tests as one and done. Oh, it's this big stressful event. This is my life hanging on this one test. No, most students take the test 2 to 3 times to hit the target score, right? It's not a one and done thing.
Gotcha.
So they need to get in the saddle, and they need to do a good prep with someone like me. Then they pull back, see how they did, and then we do another run, you see, and they'll bump that score up, step it up, And most colleges will do what I call super scoring. They'll take 2 tests and get the highest of each section, right? So there's a process involved. And we want to have that SAT or ACT, and they're both equally accepted by all universities. Parents have the idea that I got to do one for this school or the other one.
But what's the difference between them? Is there any difference?
It's just like Microsoft versus Apple.
Okay.
2 competitors, They're very similar at the end of the day. The strategies used for one will translate to the other, usually with a few tweaks. I give my students little conversion packages. How do you go from SAT to ACT? The ACT is changing as we speak. They just revamped it, made it shorter, gave more time per question, and they made the science section optional. So there was a science section on the ACT.
Why was that done? I'm curious.
I think they just understand that not every student wants to go into STEM, wants to go into those science and math-driven professions. And they realized the science section on the ACT was never that popular because it's very dense. It's a very hard lab reports. And a lot of students who just want to study.
And how about the shorter, less questions, more time? Why would?
Well, that's an interesting question, because the SAT went digital last year, right? They had the old paper test, they had the long passages. Now they give short passages. I was very against it when I first heard about it. I said, "Oh man, they're dumbing it down."
That's what I feel like.
It's terrible, man. They're dumbing it down. But then I looked at it and I said, we are no longer a reading-based culture. If you think about it, nobody reads newspapers or novels. It's all audio-visual, man. Yeah. And I said, well, look, if most students struggle to understand one paragraph, right? They're like, "What's the main idea?" I don't know, right? But if they can barely understand one paragraph, how are they going to understand 4? So the SAT pulled back with 1 paragraph at a time. This is good. This is a good teaching tool. So the ACT is now following suit. They're not shrinking it as much, but they are giving more time, because now most of us are slower readers. Do we just take longer to process? Because we're not reading newspapers every day. Your grandfather and my they were reading newspapers every day. Now we don't read as much.
You listen.
We're listening. We're listening. It's audio-visual.
It's audio-visual. Well, you said it's 100% right.
And it doesn't mean that people are less intelligent. It's just the processing is different.
I would argue where everyone is now equally as intelligent, to a degree, because of what artificial intelligence has done for us. Right. It's going to become, or it already is, it's not going to become a world of, if you want to determine success or make money or, be whatever. It's not going to be about, you have resources and I don't. It's not going to be like, will, hustle, passion, finding something to do, like just making it happen, because everyone has the same exact resources.
Right. It's open wide.
It's open wide. Yeah, it couldn't be more open,
And that's why these skills are so important. You have to become a smart purveyor and consumer of information. What matters, what doesn't. Screen out the noise. So a lot of these strategies we're teaching help them become smart readers in business, smart readers in law or medicine. I have students who email me 5 years later. Hey, Dr. Benthall, I took your class 5 years ago. I'm in medical school now. I'm still using your techniques.
That's incredible. I wanted to ask you about social media.
You know what I want to know before you go to that is there's a bunch of tutoring companies out there. I mean, I think there are a dime a dozen you get on socials that he was going to talk about now. And everybody is like, oh, I guarantee you're going to go up, or you're going to do this, or you're going to do that.
Right.
Al, do you know what's the current percentage of points or average of points that people go up in the country based on all these tutoring companies? I think that would be interesting.
Yeah, well, according to the College Board, the national average for increases after taking a prep course is 30 points, right? And we're going from a 200 to 1,600 is a perfect score, right? The national average is 30 points. That's all you get if you do a prep course. And we see 200 plus, right?
Using your method.
So we're blowing the averages away. But it's just because, like I told you, most tutors just give information. They don't give you a system for learning, a system for practice. And I call it training. I say, I'm not your teacher, I'm your trainer. That's a very different mindset. And the athletes sit up and go, what? I'm your coach, I'm your trainer. Yeah. I'm helping you get skills to get there.
Because your teacher is like, I got to work now, Trainer, you still got to work, but it sounds funner, at least I'm going to get somewhere, Right. That's a good point. What is the average score that a student will usually get without any prep class or training? Just I know it varies, but what is the average score that people get?
Yeah, man, it's the national averages. It's like around 1,000 at the most.
1,000 at the most.
Yeah, and they got to get to if you want to go to Chapel Hill, you need a 1,400. If you want to get into Duke, it's 1,500 plus. All the Ivies are 1,550.
1,500.
Yeah, 50.
But there's something interesting, especially in the state of Florida. It's not necessarily about getting into an Ivy League school if that's not your goal. But for example, even if you want to go to Miami-Dade, you get a certain score, you're now going to get, bright futures, and you can get all these other, incentives.
And if you don't, you're getting what are those classes? The remedials.
The remedials.
You're getting you're starting at school with the remedial class.
Listen, getting the bright futures is great.
Yeah.
And I never went out of the state. I went to Miami-Dade. I went to Nova. I stayed local, but these exams can still help you a lot, even if that's what you're planning to do. And I think a lot of people need to realize that.
Yeah, I think a lot of people need to realize, just thinking about this now, because when I went to school and stuff, if you do not want to end up in Miami-Dade remedial classes, you need to have a good SAT score.
That would
okay, so the doctor is going to be your go-to guy for this, So
no, and also financial.
Yeah,
because it helps to pay for the classes if you have a bright futures. It's a free ride.
Yeah.
Even though many schools went test optional, we can talk about that. Over half of the scholarships in the country are test required, test mandated, SAT or ACT to get the big money, or even any money to help with tuition. So
yeah, I didn't think about it. My daughter just went to college. She graduated from Gulliver and went up to.
She went to Savannah, didn't she?
She went to Savannah. She didn't like it. And she left. No, and then she ended up. She was there for one season. She went to SCAD, and then she went to. She's in New York, going to school in New York, School of Visual Arts and Design in New York.
Oh, nice.
She's an architecture designer. Since she was an artist, architectural designer, she didn't require it was test optional. Actually, SCAD is test optional.
Right? Yes. Oh, really?
Right. And you can tell when I walked into school, it was test option. And then I was like, I thought she was going to be cooler. My wife was like, she's not going to last here 2 weeks. And I was like, okay, we'll see what happens. 2 weeks later. Mm-hmm. What's up, baby? No, it's okay. And I'm like, what do you mean okay? Whatever. Long story short. But she took the test regardless. She got training and everything on the test, and it was for the scholarships.
There it is.
She got scholarships. She had a full ride over there.
Yeah,
it was pretty nice.
That's important.
That's very important. She got accepted to UM too, but it's a lot of money. It's $90,000 a year now. So that's crazy.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. More from a perspective of just, what do you think? How do you think social media has impacted not so much kids in the classroom? Like, do you see anything from teachers telling you, like, give me a little bit of feedback on what the teacher's position is with social media and children in the classroom now?
Well, it's definitely shrunk the attention span, right?
Yeah.
And you'll see that they just have trouble following a prolonged argument or, a text. So it's got to be like this. And one of the things we've done that I did early on when they had to read longer passages is helping them break it into small chunks, right? So I developed this strategy for helping them go to the question, find the in the text and answer, right? As opposed to reading this whole thing, right? So you have to make them smart readers. That's why this is what we do is so tailored to the social media age.
Yeah. And honestly, I believe that nowadays everybody has like ADD. I mean, ADD, like it's just...
The attention span is not...
It's culturally
It's everything is,
correct.
yeah, it's bits and pieces for everything that we get.
You're constantly being like, what's that word I'm looking for?
Bombarded.
No, like sensory overload.
Yeah.
You know? Between social media, whatever's going on around you. So it's just like, and I feel it in myself, like sometimes you sit down and you're like, okay, a couple minutes, and then you're like, okay, what's next,
Right.
And I can only imagine, sitting in a classroom, just kind of listening to somebody, how much more difficult that has to be nowadays too, And then you pair that up with AI, where you kind of like, I mean, from a testing perspective, you can't really use that, obviously, but you can probably get through school with AI now, no?
Oh my God. Yeah. I just read an article in the New York Times last week about, AI taking over the writing programs, and they can't stop them. These kids are using ChatGPT for other papers, and they, it's very hard to detect,
But I think that's where these types of exams are actually going to become even more important.
Correct, of course.
Because you can fake it. ChatGPT will help you get these grades, and if you're smart enough, which these kids are, that they will not make it look like ChatGPT. But then at the end of the day, when you get to these exams, you have to prove that you can work through things. And the more dependent they become on that, the more they're going to be exposed when they take these exams. And it's not to say, I think a lot of what Al does with his recursive learning can even be used to prompt ChatGPT and to really become, better at using these tools that we have available rather than using it against them. So I think that's important. And it's something as an educator my whole life, we have to find a way to use.
I just think that the kids don't care, Like the kids are like, fuck it.
They're gaming the system.
That's it. Like, they're like,
But it's going to catch up.
It's
going to catch up. And I think that's our job as educators that I still consider myself.
And I have like a big bone to pick now with people because ever since ChatGPT was released, all my team emails now are paragraphs and super long, So then I swear to you, everyone's literally just talking to each other via ChatGPT.
Yeah.
Copy, paste, respond this answer, copy, paste. So then now I'm finding myself having to take more time to read these long, thorough...
No, don't. Just put it in ChatGPT and tell it to respond.
Summarize this.
No, man. And I'm like, hey, guys. And I had a team, I was like, listen, use ChatGPT, it's fine. But now a simple email of like 2 or 3 things that I'm just trying to find out now, you're sending me in 4 paragraphs, so, just reduce it.
But it goes back to that dependency on something
Yeah.
that at the end of the day, it's not making us better at processing information.
It's not.
It's making us redundant. Pretty soon you're going to be like, why do I need these employees? I'll just have 2 bots talking to one another.
Yeah, that, and honestly, my biggest issue is that it's making dumb people sound smart. So now it's harder for me to identify, who's really fake and stuff like that. But I have these partners that I work with that, I see the lady, which, would never be around, and all of a sudden she's sending these nice, long, curated emails that are very thorough about talking about SEO or a particular service. So I'm like, okay, this lady's clearly now. So then you have like a client in the middle with this vendor here and this vendor here, and she's sending all this complicated stuff and, speaking about it. And the client who doesn't know, he's like, hey, why aren't we doing all this stuff? It's like, so you find yourself in a position where people now, again, have access to these resources. And
I say we have Al come up with an exam for
I
your
definitely
employees.
need Al to come up for an exam
That's right.
for the agency,
That's
Well, you know who you're hiring.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I have a tool that we use to create testing, because I do testings in every monthly meeting. We do a test of like, different things, like if a client, like situational, but it's not as elaborate. Obviously I don't have traps and things like that in there, which I would love,
Hey, you can hire him for a small nominal.
No. I'll show you what I have. I mean, we could talk about it, but I really would like to do something like that. I just don't know how you would do it because you'd have to kind of we'll figure it out. But anyways, people enjoy them actually. Like they enjoy the testing and they kind of want to be challenged.
That's it.
So it's fun. And then at the end of the day, you don't pitch it as like it's something where it's going to be detrimental to your job, but we're finding out where you need help, and
right.
That's kind of like the way I use it.
Yeah, that reframe is so important. And one of the biggest myths I see is students who think, well, the SAT is out to trick you and trap you, and it's a terrible test. They say, no, this is fun. We're going to crack these codes, these puzzles.
Yeah.
It's like you turn it into a fun thing, and once they, like 2 weeks into the course, they're like, holy cow, this stuff works.
Yeah.
they start to see the needle move, and then they just get very excited. How can I crack these?
And something interesting, which I keep going back to Al's method of the recursive learning. I think that's important because when you look at the history of the SAT, culturally, it's a very impactful exam. I mean, it's written by folks that for the most part, have had no integration with cultures from outside the country. I remember when I was young and I took an exam, a standardized exam, and it was like, oh, there's a Twinkie in the refrigerator. That thing blew my mind. I got home. I was probably in 4th or 5th grade. I'm telling my mom, what the hell is a Twinkie? Because being, Cuban American, parents came from Cuba. I was here. I don't know what a Twinkie was, but that was a vocabulary for those that, were born and raised in the United States. Yeah. So I think, unfortunately for a lot of us in South Florida, that our upbringing is a Hispanic culture, this test sometimes doesn't speak our language.
100%, yeah.
And that goes beyond SAT. That just goes to any type of standardized test. And I think that's where then that critical thinking, that type of understanding, what did I miss? How did I miss it? You now can almost get away with not knowing some of those language barriers. You find a way to get around it. Yeah. And I think that's what's important with that type of I'm not even going to say tutoring, but that type of learning. Yeah.
Do you happen to know the history of the SAT? Like how it originated and started? Yeah. Can you shine a little bit of light on that? Like what's the history of the SAT?
It just turned 100 years old. Okay. So it was started in 1924. Okay. And it was done up around Harvard. Okay. And it was developed. It's an interesting mythology now that it's some elitist tool, right? The SAT was developed for equality. Okay. Because back in the day, when you had Harvard, Princeton, Cornell, Yale, right, the Ivies, they had a separate entrance exam for every school. Okay. And so the rich kids would have a different tutor for every test. Okay. So they would get tutored in how to get into Harvard, how to get into Yale. And then other kids were being left behind, right? So they came up with the SAT as one test, to level the playing field, right? So all kids could just go and take this one test, and that would open the door to anybody, right? And so it was literally designed as a democratic tool for helping open access.
And it was done amongst a group of people?
Like, it was a small test that started at Harvard, and they just say, hey, this is fantastic. Any student can now study for this test and get in. It will level the playing field. That's how it began.
And how do they develop the questions? Like, is it like a board that comes together? I'm curious to know how that works.
It's funny. I tell my students, imagine them making these questions. Because I say, raise your hand if you think these are boring. And their hands go up, right? And I say, okay, fair. I get it. You feel boring. It feels like you're not interested in this, right? And that makes it hard to understand. I said, have you ever had a cool professor, a cool teacher you liked? And they go, yeah, maybe once. Imagine them all sitting around the table going, how can we come up with something interesting for these students, for these questions? I'll say, do you think they're trying to bore you into a coma? And someone will say yes. And then after we finish laughing, I say, no, that's not what they're doing. They're coming up with, you have a biologist, you have a historian, you have a physicist. They, this cool piece of research in my physics, I'm going to put this on the SAT. This cool breakthrough in genetics, let's put that on the SAT. And I say, when you're reading sometimes, a little gold nugget goes off. I never thought of it that way before. You actually learned something.
Yeah.
And so they say, that's plausible. Yeah, I could see that happening. And I say, now, pretend every passage is fascinating. Pretend that there's a golden nugget inside each one, and go find the golden nugget. And I say, boredom does not exist. And they come back and go, oh my God, you're right. And I say, get curious. Yeah. Why do they pick this passage for the SAT? Yeah. And once they reframe that way, the boredom evaporates.
That's incredible. But you saying that actually does make a lot of sense. And a lot of people see the SAT or these tests, any type of testing, as like adversary,
Yeah. And they come with
I gotta do this.
A negative.
It's there to like take me down,
Yeah. They're against me.
It's a gotcha.
It's a gotcha. But if you see it as something playful and entertaining, and think of its origins as like, hey, they put this out there for you to toy with you, then you start seeing things a little bit different.
Once they see the patterns on some of the trap answers, like they'll use this extreme exaggerated language in the wrong answers. I call it drama words. They'll say, find the drama. And they go, oh, I'm backing off that. And once they get onto this game, the students love it.
Are majority of the questions now still multiple choice? Or?
Yeah. It's all multiple choice. On math, there are some fill-ins where you have multiple choice on some questions. Another question, you got to put in the digits.
Yeah, those are the worst.
Those are psychologically the worst.
You get no,
Right.
you got no
One out
shot
of
at
25%.
that.
I got 25% chance.
You got a chance, right?
Yeah. Do people ever? I mean, I guess I'm sure people go through the test and just
Christmas tree and
Yeah, about the Christmas tree.
Is there a strategy to Christmas treeing it? Can you give us a strategy if
Yep.
you have nothing else left? You didn't study. You got to take the test. Your mom's asking you. What is the strategy of going in and guessing on the test?
C every time. No. There used to be the mythology that C was more often correct back when humans made the test because they thought if you put it in the middle, it was somehow harder. It was crazy. But now computers are randomizing it. So literally I tell them, if you get it down to 2 answers and you don't have a reason, if you just have feelings, I feel D, I feel A, you shut it down, favorite letter, and you get more correct doing that because you shut off your bias.
That's an interesting way of seeing it.
Yep.
But so it's extremely randomized, like obviously.
Extremely
There's no way
randomized,
of. There's no pattern. There's nothing.
Yeah. So
Would you prefer Christmas tree or still?
It's so random that sometimes you'll see A 3 or 4 times in a row. That's how random it is.
Oh, wow.
Because the computer doesn't care. It's literally just cycling.
Yeah, I remember when I was a teacher, I'd get Christmas trees all the time.
Yeah.
I had some kids that it was literally C straight down. They figured, all right, I'll get some right. And it worked a bit, but they wouldn't pass.
Yeah.
So
You should just do one test that just C's all the way down.
yeah.
Oh, I've done it.
Listen,
You've done it before?
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
it happens.
Secret of my success.
Yeah. And what do they tell you? Like that's because that's really playing mind games. It's like no, it can't be C again. Or 6C, it can't be C again.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
They've had professors do that. They literally made an exam where A was the right answer for every single question just to mess with them.
Yeah. I mean that'll definitely throw a wrench
I
into your
think
thought
any of
process.
us would not put them all, even if we knew all the answers.
Right.
And it was 20 questions, all A's. I know I would put at least one that's not A. It just had to be.
Right.
Unless
So
you
I
pick
would-
up on the fact that
Unless you're testing
but
your
I think in the middle of a test,
your
you
lateral
just-
thinking skills to say,
Yeah.
oh, wait, I see what this fool is doing. He's doing this.
I don't know if I think that way sometimes. I would just.
The thing is that you always think you're smarter than them, So no, it can't be like that.
Exactly.
And as soon as you got 10 A's in, that's when you would put a D, right?
Exactly. You're like, all right, it's got to be something else.
Yeah. So
I would put a C. Not a D, a C.
Of course.
for those students that are struggling, or those parents that want their kids to get a good SAT, ACT score, what should they be doing right now?
Well, they can start by visiting the website. Our website is Benthall Prep, or our Instagram is Benthall Prep. You can go there. You'll start to see some resources, and you'll see some contact information. You need to get in touch with my team, and my assistant, who's been working with me for years, will do kind of an interview with the parents to see where the challenge areas are.
Like a one-on-one.
Yeah. And then a one-on-one interview. We call it a consult and an interview. And then from there, we'll start talking about what your timeline looks like. And we will put you with one of our amazing tutors that we've trained for hundreds of hours with advanced degrees, and then we'll find the best fit for the student. And we'll get them started. And again, we'll map out a full year ahead or whatever time you have, several months ahead. We'll make it clear that this is not a one and done thing. We're gonna be with you on this ride to get you to your target score.
And it's going to be fun.
It's going to be fun. You're going to be around other highly motivated students who are really, really passionate about learning, and it's going to kind of sink in. You'll see students talking to one another, during breaks and stuff, and they'll form lifelong friendships. Some of these students.
Gotcha. And when it comes to like the packages, you have all sorts of packages for all types of situations.
Yeah, we have a standard package, right, for this 6-week class.
Okay.
It runs on weekends. It's typically a 3-hour class that runs once a week, but then there'll be like 4 hours of homework and training during the week. Students will also have access to these answer explanation videos I created.
Okay.
So little 5-minute videos for every single question.
Yeah, this is mind-blowing. He's got videos on there.
How do you know those? Don't the questions change?
No, they have a standard book right now. They have SAT has an app called the Blue Book app, and they have like 8 practice tests on it, right?
Okay.
And they have like roughly 100 questions.
Sorry, that app is free and everything?
The app's
So
free.
People
Blue
can go and
Book's
test
free.
it.
Yeah.
I can go right now and take a mock SAT.
Right like that.
Wow.
Yeah, it's free. But then what I did, I went in and I did short answer explanation videos for every single one of those questions.
Hundreds of questions.
So it's hundreds of questions. So when the kid, say Johnny goes home, I say, you're going to do 30 math questions for homework. He does 30 math questions. He misses 5 questions. He goes to my video for each of those questions he missed, 5-minute video, private math tutor. Okay, don't do it this way, do it this way. Here's the strategy, here's the shortcut, here's the trick, right? Same with reading, same with grammar, right? So they're like having a private tutor right at home, okay? Then they come back to class, they mark up what they miss, right? And then my team, one of my tutors or me, will go deeper in class. So they're getting the best of both worlds.
But question, when they do the test itself, or when they develop the test, each question is relatable to, I guess, the test, the practice test that they have on the app?
Yeah, the app. It
So they just changes slightly, or what's usually the change?
Yeah, well, no, there's no change. I mean, the questions are made by the same people on the practice app that make the real test. So they feel exactly the same. They're using the same tricks, the same strategies. And so it really is a very good training tool. You do not generally want to use other training tools. You know, there are many companies who put out SAT books.
Yeah.
There are other apps who put out mock SATs, but they never feel the same. They're not authentic. They feel either easier when you take their training, or they're harder sometimes, or they're just different, alien. Every student who comes to me says, oh, I tried this other app, I tried this other company, mock tests.
Yeah.
And then I took the real SAT, had no relation. It felt totally different. So you want to use the real stuff.
Man, I feel like your passion for this.
Yeah, man.
Right? Where does it come from? Like, why is it you're so passionate about this subject?
I'm just, I've been learning my whole life. I like to say it was my mom's fault. She read somewhere that if you want to make your kid a genius, you put books in his crib instead of toys. So my mom filled my crib with books. So I grew up crawling around with books and probably gnawing on the edges or something,
Wow.
But I was surrounded by books and learning. And then I was also an artist as a kid, a painter, and a musician. So I have a long history of learning and also creativity.
What instrument did you play?
Guitar.
Guitar, amazing.
Yeah. So I
Painting too?
had a band all through high school, college, and then I went to art school for a year at East Carolina University, and I actually taught at the Art Institute in D.C. So I was teaching literature to art students. So I look at learning as creative,
Yeah.
And that's where I think the passion comes from.
Yeah. And why Miami?
I've loved Miami for years. I think it's a great place. I love the culture down here. I love the food. I love the people. And I've been working with some schools down here now with helping these kids, turn those scores around. And so I have a passion for this place in particular.
So you guys do like partnerships with schools?
Yes.
Right. And how would that work out? Like if a school is interested in doing a partnership with you guys, what would be the best way to approach you? Or, I mean, obviously they call you, but what's the purpose of them doing a partnership with you? How is it that you help them?
Well, we offer them certain rates, maybe package deals to other students. We try to help them with that. And then the kids come on board and we learn about their unique goals, right? Some schools have a different focus, right? You might have more of a business focus, more of an arts focus, and we help those students adjust to what their goals are so that it changes how the class is going to feel.
Got you. For those schools out there that a lot of people and families watch, and they have their students or their children that are going to go now and take this test, what's their best approach, and how is it that you can help them?
Well, even though we started out in North Carolina, we now have an extensive reach in Miami. And so you just need to go and get in touch with us. We will set up a customized learning program for you. We have highly trained tutors who will work with you and your family on an individual basis, but will make you part of our experience in these small groups and make the magic
And the most important part, what's the average that you guys raise scores?
200 points.
200 points. That's big time.
Yeah.
Not everybody's doing that. And the average of their competitor?
30 points.
30 points. Not good. So this is a guy you got to go to. Last question. I think I'm gonna give this to. How long have you been here?
You mean
Miami?
Just flew in last night, but I've come many times.
Yeah. So okay.
He visits frequently. Still based in North Carolina, but he visits.
All right. So North Carolina. This is out of state. You got to give us your top 3 restaurants in Miami.
In Miami.
It's a trap question, so be careful.
I like Baldy.
Number 3?
Yeah.
Number 3 is?
Sports Grill.
Sports Grill. That's a good one.
So,
JC took you there, didn't he?
I did not.
Phenomenal spot. That's a phenomenal spot.
Those are my people.
Those are great. Like special grilled wings. Listen, that's a Miami staple, so he took you to the right spot. Let's see where else is taking you. Number 2, what do you got?
I love Baldy over in South Beach. I've been there.
Baldy, yeah. What do you like about it?
It's just a great tapas, and they have a really cool atmosphere. They have at some point during the night, they will come in. They will bring out dancers on the, they'll set up kind of a fire pit thing. But really good Asian fusion food there.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And number 1.
Damn, restaurants. Let me think that through for a second.
It's all good. I'm going to ask you too. I think you have some good ones, no?
No, I'm not. She knows I don't go out.
Huh?
Yeah, see, she knows. Don't ask me that.
Okay, never mind. Oh, bro, we had someone say that once here, and we posted it. Emmy said that, and the comments were brutal. Brutal.
I have to say maybe Hakkasan over at Fontainebleau.
That's a bit major spot.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Good spot.
it's a very good spot. And what do you like about that?
It's very good sushi, very fresh, but it's very creative. They get very interesting with their magic.
The professor has expensive taste.
That's right.
Yeah, that's good. It's good work.
Likes his food.
Guys, a pleasure.
Pleasure.
It was a real nice.